Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll-free here, bring up whatever you want. Our number is 855-450, free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We've also got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. And that is where you can go to also interact with other Free Talk Live listeners. So head on over there to do that. And in the studio here tonight with you, it's Ian.
Richie Rich.
And Mark.
All right. So, of course, live Sunday show. We'll take your calls about anything you want. Apparently in the news, there's something about the Olympics and transgenders rule change. I'm not
Athletes,
sure.
Yeah.
I can't find it. Apparently, Richie Rich, you saw some kind of headline about this.
I saw the headline, but the article wasn't very. There wasn't much depth to the article. So
supposedly, the Olympic Committee is now going to allow athletes
transgendered athletes to compete as female.
Right.
If that's what they're transitioning to.
And it's not that anyone gives a flip about a transgendered athlete choosing to compete as a male. It's always as a female. And to me, that's, well, I'm an athlete, right? And I understand that if I decided to these are, by the way, the article that I saw, pre-op trans athletes. These aren't even people that have had the motivation and the interest to go through an operation to change their genitals into whatever it is that they identify as. And so, first off, not a high level of commitment as far as I'm concerned. People that chop off their junk, committed. People who don't, not terribly committed. Is the way I see it.
On the way.
Fine, whatever. They may be taking some drugs, but you can always take the drugs and go back, right?
Estrogen hormones and
yeah. I'm not here to besmirch anyone's lifestyle.
Okay.
You want to wear a dress? Wear a dress. You want to cut off your junk? Cut off your junk. Do whatever you want to do. You want to compete in an athletic event. I don't care if it's even the Olympics. You need to, be committed. Now, in my not committed into a committed to the
transition.
Yeah. But I'm not even going to take that position. I think the solution to all of this is there's two leagues as it were. There is now, right? There's men's and women's.
Sure.
Well, let's change them. Let's change them to women's, or as I like to call it, double X. You take a genetic test. Believe me, to compete in the Olympics, you need to take tests. And a genetic test is relatively easy to complete. Genetic test, if your chromosomal makeup comes back as 2 X's, that's why I call it double X. If it comes back as 2 X's, you can compete in the double X league. If it doesn't, you're in what I like to call open. Now, it's not open doesn't mean that somebody who is not a man or doesn't identify as a man, I don't care. But if you're going to identify on that particular day as a woman and go in and kick all the gals' butts in jiu-jitsu, I think you need to have a genetic test. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, so there's an article that sort of proclaims, and it's the story that you handed me here, Richie Rich, was from looks like G. Edward Griffin's website, and then he links to some other site, which then links to an article from the Daily Mail from 2016, saying the headline: "Transgender athletes to be allowed to compete as the other sex in the Olympics without having gender reassignment surgery." But then the first bullet point under that says that they've received proposed guidelines. And so I'm not sure if a proposed guideline is the same thing as
a new guideline
that's actually happening. Here's an article from The Guardian. This is also from January of 2016. Headline: IOC rules transgender athletes can take part in Olympics without surgery. Female to male athletes can compete without restriction, while male to female athletes must undergo hormone therapy, according to the new guidelines. So it sounds like something was implemented. Transgender athletes should be allowed to compete in the Olympics and other international events without undergoing sex reassignment surgery, according to the guidelines adopted by the International Olympic Committee. Their medical officials said they've changed the policy to adapt to current scientific, social, and legal attitudes on transgender issues. The guidelines are designed as recommendations, not rules or regulations, for international sports federations and other bodies to follow, and should apply for this year's or then that year's Olympics in Rio de Janeiro.
Okay. I mean, again, I look forward to the day when we have a full crew of trans women doing the pirouettes and the dancing ballet stuff. That should be a lot of fun. Not fully operated on, just
the rhythmic gymnastics,
right? And displaying all the hair that that God gave them. That'll be a lot of fun. No, I still say that we need to have a division that's solely for people born with two X chromosomes. And that would be more fair. People born with other sets of chromosomes, all you with it, whatever the makeup is, XY, two X's and a Y, whatever,
XXY,
whatever it might be, you're off in the open category.
See, and my proposal was similar to yours, only that I would have a third open category.
So men's, women's, and open?
Sure, because one of the complaints that you're going to get from the trans athlete competing against the men is that as a trans athlete, they are at a disadvantage when competing with genetic males because they're taking the hormones and all of those other, substances that don't let them compete at that level.
Just a guess, I would think that that there would be very few people in this category, right? I mean, it's hard enough to get the Jamaican bobsled team there at the Olympics, and then there's the men's, the women's, and now the open category. And so it would make basically anybody who's trans, they give them the opportunity to go ahead and win a gold medal, you know?
But they're already doing that in other sports, right? Like you mentioned jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
There's been stories of wrestlers, trans wrestlers winning their competitions.
Yep. There's a story out of Texas, I think, that one tends to make the rounds. This is the pivot point issue on this. And it's not that I have any problem with trans people. I don't. Do what you want. Mm-hmm. But when you're talking about an athletic competition, most people are going to agree there's a difference between men and women. And
I would hope so.
Yeah, most people will.
Anyone sane would know that women have less upper body strength on average than men do.
Right, and I'm relatively sure.
Just sit them by a pull-up bar and see how they do.
That if I decided to compete in, women's jiu-jitsu, I identify as a woman today. I'm tired of losing in the men's division. I'll go ahead and go into the women's. That I'm probably going to take.
Now, didn't you get pinned by a girl at your jiu-jitsu class?
Oh yeah, but she's a purple belt.
Okay.
I mean,
so it isn't all about upper body strength, right? It's about technique.
No, yes. Paige is a very, very effective athlete, but she's also had a lot more training than I have, and I wouldn't compete against her anyway because she has a higher belt. I guess if we were in unlimited, because of her belt, we would never compete, even if it was an unlimited in women's. I don't know if there is an unlimited in women's.
But if there was an open category, then in theory you guys could face off.
I guess if she decided to, compete in that particular day. And I do believe that women, by the way, should be able to compete in the open category that I've suggested.
Sure.
If that's what they want to do. Mm-hmm. But that they only two X chromosomes to compete in the women's category is what I would say.
Under the previous guidelines of the Olympics approved in 2003, athletes who transition from male to female or vice versa were required to have reassignment surgery followed by at least 2 years of hormone therapy in order to be eligible to compete. Now, surgery will no longer be required, with female to male transgender athletes eligible to take part in men's competitions, quote, without restriction. Unquote. Meanwhile, male to female transgender athletes will need to demonstrate their testosterone level has been below a certain cutoff point for at least 1 year before their first competition. So there's some details on these new rules. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. And where does the agender alien person fit into this? Did you guys hear about the agender alien person?
Oh, I'm sure.
You did?
No, I'm sure that it exists.
There's pictures. 855-450-FREE. That's It's Free Talk Live. You can dial in here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms open and available to you as well over at discord.lrn.fm. With you in the studio tonight, I'm Ian.
Richie Rich.
And Mark.
And, of course, you can join us online anytime you want over at freetalklive.com. Do enjoy the features that we've got on the website for you at freetalklive.com. And also, we'll hope to see you at the Fork Fest coming up in June. It's June 13th through the 18th. Fork Fest 2019 is the third year of the decentralized camping event that, well, we can't really tell you what exactly it's going to look like because we're not in charge, and nobody is except for everybody. Because everybody's in charge of their own experience. You get to decide what to do when you're at Fork Fest. Do you just want to go and hang out, camp with other libertarians and voluntarists and liberty-loving anarchists? Because they'll be there. That much is a guarantee. There will be libertarian, voluntarist, anarchist types hanging out at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire from June 13th through the 18th. Now, what they decide to do and what you decide to do when you're there, that's completely up to you. We've had Steven Zeiler called in earlier this week from AnyPay.global announcing they're going to be running a party tent, basically sounds like a rave tent every single night at Fork Fest. Then there's also going to be Man Camp that Jay Noon, our Wednesday night co-host, is going to be putting on in tandem with some other people who are going to be helping him teach there at Man Camp. There'll be a variety of different topics and subjects that you'll be able to take, from what I understand. Again, all of those.
Welding, I know, is on the list.
I've heard that. Yep.
The proper way to open a pickle jar.
So come on out, because those are just two of the things that people have cooked up already. I heard Vincent and my roommate talking about doing a cooking tent of some sort to actually, offer food to the folks there attending Fork Fest. So if you want to vend, you can do that. It's totally up to you. Forkfest.party is where you can go to learn more. It's an unofficial site. Everything's unofficial with Fork Fest. There's also the Fork Fest forum and Fork Fest chat room on Telegram available, and you can link to both of those from the website over at Forkfest, F-O-R-K, forkfest.party. As we continue here with a confusing story about the International Olympic Commission coming up with what are both in the same article by The Guardian, which is sort of a noteworthy and renowned news source. It kind of vacillates back and forth here between claiming these are rules but not rules at the same time. The rule change being that in 2016 that the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, made some sort of a statement and ostensibly changed their rules, but then again, when you actually talk to one of the people who's involved, they say, quote, "This is a scientific consensus paper, not a rule or regulation. It is the advice of the Medical and Scientific Commission and what we consider the best advice." So
that sounds like a bunch of politics for a rule change to me.
Yeah. I don't know.
We just follow the best advice given to us by scientists, and the scientists have changed the best advice that they've given to us.
The experts agree.
Right. Whatever.
Yeah, quote, "It's necessary to ensure, insofar as possible, that trans athletes are not excluded from the opportunity to participate in sporting competitions," said the IOC in their document posted on their website that outlines the guidelines. Quote, "The overriding sporting objective is and remains the guarantee of fair competition."
Well, with our whole next generation coming down the pike with, 37 different genders, well, I think they had to make some kind of changes. That's the generation that's going to be competing in the Olympics, after all.
They should start their own Olympics.
Quote, "To require
the Trans Olympics.
To require surgical anatomical changes as a precondition to participation is not necessary to preserve fair competition, and it may be inconsistent with developing legislation and notions of human rights," the group added. According to the story at The Guardian, former IOC Medical Commission Chairman Arne Lundqvist, who was among the experts involved in drafting the new guidelines, said the consensus was driven by social and political changes. Quote, "It's become much more of a social issue than in the past. We had to review and look into this from a new angle. We needed to adapt to the modern legislation around the world, and we felt we cannot impose a surgery if that's no longer a legal requirement."
Yeah, I would say that wait until you find out the social ramifications of a trans athlete, specifically a formerly male, now identifying as female, athlete, when they whip the tar out of everybody in their particular division because they're qualified to be in the Olympics, they're great, and then they just go ahead and beat all the women. Then you're going to find some social ramifications you weren't expecting.
Under the new rules, an athlete transitioning to a woman must undergo hormone therapy and demonstrate that the total level of male testosterone in the blood has been below 10 nanomoles per liter for at least a year prior to competing. Now, I don't understand why that matters, because is that going to change their upper body strength?
It will affect it, but if they have already built that upper body strength beforehand, it depends on the age of the athlete and what they're competing in.
There are so many performance enhancing drugs out there that when you're trying to decide whether or not one or two have a particularly detrimental or impactful impact, for lack of a better term, on an athlete, it gets way too complicated, right? You have to draw the line somewhere and say this substance isn't allowed, no matter the quantity of it.
And don't forget that what was the guy that got in trouble for the bicycling doping thing?
Lance Armstrong.
Lance Armstrong. He got in trouble for what they call blood doping. This wasn't even injecting hormones or anything like that. It's just like more red blood cells or something to that effect. I'm not a scientist. You should read up on this and not just listen to what I say. But look at Michael Phelps. This guy sleeps in some kind of bariatric chamber in order to, I don't know what his coach wants it to do, but somehow enhance his performance. He sleeps in a special room.
Probably to keep himself more oxygenated.
Yeah, a special capsule. Now, these are people that spend a lot of time and a lot of energy in making themselves better at what they do. You telling me, as a weightlifter who knows that he would never win in the men's side, couldn't decide, well, I want to win in the women's side, so builds their upper body strength, and then for 1 year, diminishes their testosterone underneath the level. It's going to walk in there and mop the floor with those gals.
Are you questioning the integrity of these athletes?
Well, I'm just saying that they're going to try very hard to win. That's the whole purpose of the Olympics. When you write stuff down as rules, people are going to go right up to that rule, and they're going to ride that line as best they can. And in some cases, in some events, this is just an incredible advantage that's given to a trans athlete. And ladies and gentlemen, this is just a prediction. I expect the world is not quite ready for some dude who pulls his hair into pigtails and built like a bodybuilder and going in there and beating all the girls and just, hey, the world cheers for this incredible athlete. No, the world's going to say this is unacceptable. And this is the final nail in the coffin, in my opinion, could be potentially the final nail in the coffin of the Olympics. An organization that just goes.
Who watches the Olympics?
That's the thing. Is it just goes and impoverishes nations now? It's just a
build the buildings.
It's a city destroying organization.
All right, there's more coming up here, including the story about since we're on the subject, the ex-transgender man who used to be a woman who is now identifying as an agender alien.
Oh, swell.
It's Free Talk Live.
Bitcoin.com wants you to know about SaveItPurse.com. Since launching in 2014, over 200,000 users have saved an average of 15% for a combined $4 million using Bitcoin, or BTC. And now you can use Bitcoin Cash, BCH, to fund your account. You can save between 5 to 33% on things you're going to buy anyway when you shop using SaveItPurse.com. Add items to your cart, fund your account, select your discount, and save. SaveItPurse.com. Save ATPurse.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll free, bring up what you want here, live Sunday edition of the show, whether it's transgenders in the Olympics or whatever is on your mind. Our number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. And by the way, I want to say thanks to Dave, who is a Free Talk Live Silver Amplifier over at amp.freetalklive.com. That's where you can go and sign up for the AMP program. AMP stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote. It is a way for you to help Free Talk Live get on new radio stations around the country. We're at 197 radio stations.
Closing in.
It's a record for Free Talk Live. And we can have more. It just takes time. It takes money. And that's what the AMP program is for. Advertise, market, and promote. $5 a month is what it costs you. You get some cool perks as a result of doing that, like access to the supporters chat rooms on our Discord server and more. Go to the AMP page to learn more about how the money's being spent over at amp.freetalklive.com, ampamp.freetalklive.com as we continue. And yes, you can do PayPal, credit card, or Bitcoin BTC for your AMP at amp.freetalklive.com. Let's go to San Francisco where Paul is on the line. Paul, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm a veteran, and I belong to a veterans organization, Veterans for Peace. And we keep talking about the Gulf War syndrome. We've been talking about it for years.
Yeah, many years.
I heard an interview with a nurse who worked for 10 years in the Army, giving the shots to the veterans going into the Gulf War. And she said, funny thing is that she gave out all these anthrax shots out, and yet half the guys who got the Gulf War syndrome, who end up in the hospital with it, did not even deploy to the Gulf. And so she is questioning whether or not the Gulf War syndrome is real or whether it was caused by the shots she was giving. She said she quit the Army. She was getting so tired, so depressing, talking to the parents of these guys who were damaged by what she thought was the vaccination she was giving to them.
Well, you can't trust those vaccines. They cause all sorts of things.
Yeah, and so the Veterans for Peace organization nationwide now is taking an interest in this whole Gulf War syndrome thing and trying to figure out we need more research. Any other nurses out there who are involved in giving the shots, please contact us.
Why isn't DAV, Disabled American Veterans, VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars, whatever? There's a bunch of them out there. Why aren't those organizations being interested in this topic? Because this isn't, as I understand it, Gulf War syndrome isn't from people who went to Iraq. It's for people who went to the Persian Gulf War in the early 90s. So you're talking about something that's 30 years in the making at this point. I mean, it's not like we've got news. Why aren't these organizations concerned with it?
Yeah, there's 250,000 veterans with Gulf War syndrome, and nobody else is taking an interest.
Right, nobody seems to know what the hell it is.
Yeah, that's right. Because, well, I'm a doctor also. I went to medical school after I got out of the military, and at first I couldn't figure it out. And then when I heard this nurse explaining, and she hit I thought what the key thing was, she said half the guys who have it never even deployed.
Sure.
And then when she said that, I said, the only thing they have in common is they all got the anthrax vaccine, which was not a single dose of anything. It was like 10 different types of drugs in one shot.
As a doctor, though, how couldn't you study the effects of the anthrax vaccine over the course of time with all the people who have taken
absolutely. It? That's one of the things I'm doing now. I'm researching it, and I'm trying to contact more people who – I'm in the San Francisco Veterans for Peace, so if people want to contact me, I'm easy to find.
Are you reaching out for support then? Is that –
Yeah, I want any veteran out there listening who has Gulf War syndrome, and I want to know if they were deployed or not. I want to do this research because this one nurse gave me this clue, and I realized, oh, my God.
Well, I guess my question would be on this, is this so if it seems to only happen from this general time frame. So we're talking about a particular batch of vaccine, not the anthrax vaccine, because I mean, if they're giving this thing out, then everybody who gets this, or at least some percentage of people have been getting it for years. If it was the same vaccine that they were giving out 30 years ago, then they should have it too. It sounds like it had to do with something. If it had to do with the vaccine at all, it had to do with a particular batch, because it doesn't seem to have any. Civilians aren't getting Gulf War syndrome.
Maybe it's a psyop.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Who knows?
We need to know
there's
more.
a history of them testing on enlisted men, right?
Sure is. Yeah.
Oh yeah. When I was first in the Navy, I was standing in line getting vaccinated, and the guy ahead of me was this big, strapping, 6'2", 200 and some pound guy, and he collapsed, and they took him to the hospital, and he died from the shot whatever it was they give us. I didn't know what it was because I was like 19 years old.
Right.
I was in the military expecting to die anyhow. So
that's kind of sad.
So if somebody dies right there in front of you, you don't think anything about it because in the military, dying is normal.
Mm-hmm.
It just happens. Now I've woke up, and so I realized, I should have been scared when that guy died. I should have probably said, well, okay, this guy...
No, thanks. I won't take that. None of that for me. I don't know.
Yeah,
especially if he does right in front of you.
With you tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm curious.
So,
obviously, things have changed since when you went into the military. You don't sound like a spring chicken. But what would happen if you went into the military and refused to take the shot now?
Oh, no, you can go. You can't refuse to take the shot, but I already knew that when I was standing in line.
Well, wait a minute.
You can get discharged.
Okay.
If you refuse, they can put you in a brig, right? Like there's a punishment. Presumably you can refuse and they won't hold you down, or will they hold you down?
No, they're not going to hold you down, but they're going to bring in the shore patrol and they're going to escort you over to the brig and give you time to think about it. And then, most guys just take the shot and move on.
Sure.
So may I give out my email address?
Sure, if you would like, you're welcome to. Go ahead.
Okay, it's D like David, R like Roger, and then the number 8, the figure 8, and my last name is KANGAS @gmail. And yes, I'm a doctor.
DR8KANGAS @gmail?
Yes. Gmail, yeah.
I've got another question. Just let's hypothetically assume that you're right for a moment, and there is a causal relationship between the anthrax vaccine and Gulf War syndrome. Should you be able to prove this, what do you hope to accomplish with that evidence?
Well, I mainly want to alert the military that something's wrong here.
Oh, I'm sure they're dying to know.
They're going to file that in the circular file, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and like I was saying before, they might be responsible for it.
Right, which is why they're going to file it in the circular file. I would like to alert the
military that they are responsible for a bunch of sick people, 250,000 sick people. Yeah, they're dying to know that.
Yeah, and I don't expect them to respond real fast, but if I can get 100 guys, 100 veterans, or maybe 200 to help me do this research, that would, I think, get their attention. If I can present a case description of when these guys got the shot, whether or not they were deployed, and what their symptoms are. Mainly I'm interested in the symptoms, and if they're keeping track of their symptoms, like when they first collapsed from it or whatever happened to them.
If you can come up with something conclusive, I think the media would be much more interested than the military would, and that's how you would get their attention, is if you actually went.
You're absolutely right.
And blew the case wide open.
I do want to say thank you for whatever your service on this. I think you're doing great work. If you do find something out, science is about finding out that you're wrong too.
And you said you
could be wrong.
You were in the group. Is it Veterans for Peace that you were a part of?
Yes, I'm in San Francisco.
Veterans for Peace. Thank you, Paul, for your call tonight. Good luck. I appreciate hearing from you. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. According to Wikipedia, Gulf War Syndrome is a chronic and multi-symptomatic disorder affecting returning military veterans and civilian workers from the Persian Gulf War in 1990 and 1991. A wide range of acute and chronic symptoms have been linked to it, including fatigue, muscle pain, cognitive problems, rashes, and diarrhea. And about 250,000, as he said, U.S. veterans who served are afflicted with this illness. There's more coming up here. 855-450-FREE, like freedom. If you want to join us, this is Free Talk Live. It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up whatever you want here, whether it's transgender people in the Olympics or maladies that afflict folks in the military and nobody knows where they came from. We can talk about anything you want to discuss here. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. It is the live Sunday edition. Joining you tonight, it's Ian.
Richie Rich.
And Mark.
And we've got a website. Of course, you can go and get interactive with other Free Talk Live listeners. I mentioned our Discord server. It's there. People are in there right now, chatting away throughout the whole show, before, during, and after Free Talk Live. It's 24 hours a day.
24 hours a day.
There's people in there pretty much over at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm. I recommend having the Discord app. You can use their web version if you just kind of want to test it out. But the Discord app's a pretty nice app, and it'll make it so you can use our Discord call-in lines as well if you want to get on the air with us and sound almost like you're sitting here in the studio. Go to discord.lrn.fm. We started out the show talking about the Olympics and ostensible rule changes surrounding transgendered participants or people who would like to participate in the Olympics. And so that led me to wonder about, well, what about the agender alien, the so-called agender alien who is making headlines this last week? This story from the Mirror over in the UK. Jareth Nebula. You think that's got
to be his
real last name? Might live on Earth, but he firmly believes he belongs on another planet. The 33-year-old, who was born a woman but transitioned to become a man when he was 29, now believes he doesn't fit into any human gender and is, in fact, an alien.
More power to her. Him.
Apparently, this person would like to be called they, which I don't understand that at all. Like, you're not more than one person, although I suppose you could say that you have multiple personalities, in which case you should be addressed as they. But wouldn't it be more appropriate for an agender alien than they?
I don't know. For me, like, I feel like I've been stretched to my boundaries when it comes to
about what people believe they are.
People transitioning from man to woman and woman to man. I'm willing to go, all right, you want to use that pronoun? Fine. That's okay. But when you start demanding of me new, different pronouns,
right.
then
to use a plural, basically.
Plural on a singular
person.
Man, are you kidding?
I generally don't have a problem with the pronoun thing. The only thing I would ask for is a little bit of lenience when I get it wrong on occasion.
Right. Well, of course, that's going to be.
I'm not accustomed to it yet.
I don't have a problem either with he or she, as far as, like, we got Aria DiMezzo in here. She's a sometime co-host here on Free Talk Live, and born a male, still has a penis, identifies as female. I have no problem calling her a she.
Wears a skirt
because she dresses like like one. She looks like a woman at first glance. And so I got no problem with that. Nobody looks like a they.
Well, they had Z for a little bit, right? Z-E.
Well, there's a whole bunch of the people who
I've never called anyone Z, and I would not do that either.
Well,
they would ask you to.
I have met a person who identified as Z.
And what does that mean?
It is a
what does that mean?
It is a non-gender pronoun, right?
Non-gender. So that's a thing?
Right. So you're a Z, he's a Z, I'm a Z, we're all Z's together, right? So
how can you be a non-gender? What does that even mean? Did you cut off both genitals?
No.
It's all self-identification anyway.
The pronoun is intended that we stop using gender-based pronouns.
To abolish gender.
To abolish gender in pronouns, if that's what you want to do.
Well, that's a political action, that has nothing to do with who you are, right? That's just you're being political at that point.
I would agree
depending
that
on what they identify, you just address them as Z if they want, if you're referring to them in the third person.
How about dude?
Sure. If that's what they want.
If that's what they want. And I like that pronoun, by the way, dude. Yeah. my pronoun is dude. I prefer my pronouns to be His Majesty and Your Majesty. But no one ever uses them. Well, often they do. If I wear my crown, they're willing to often call me Your Majesty and those sorts of things. And I return with a quick thank you, loyal subject. But this is... ultimately, what we can see here is that it's
delusional.
It's attempting to get people to behave in a certain fashion. Now, I will defend this in the sense that Quakers have, which I am a Quaker, long had a tradition of they wouldn't call months by their names because March is named after Mars. They wouldn't call days of the week by their names because Wednesday is named after Woden, a pagan god. So they would say first day, second month, things like that.
Such a boring bunch.
It's right, but
so
sober, like so sober. It's so boring. But I mean, I hate the imperial system, for instance. Would much prefer to we transition over the metric system.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like I don't have my own preferences on how things are done. It's just it's so exhausting.
Let's go to the phones here. We can continue on the agender alien here in moments. John, though, is on the line in Missouri, listening to KWTO there in Springfield. Hello, John.
Hello, sir. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I just wanted to address the gentleman that was calling earlier. I myself was a corpsman. It's like I was at a place called Camp Patriot in Kuwait. Okay, the Second Gulf War, whatever they're calling it now, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't even know.
It's like I used to actually give the anthrax shot. Some kind of interesting things about that. I don't really think that there is a Gulf War syndrome specifically. I think you can use it as an umbrella term. If you've ever been to Kuwait, it's filthy. Okay, it's like they burn their garbage there. They have refineries there with hardly any health standards, and you have ships coming in from India and other ports of the world, that kind of thing. They're blowing sulfur off the top of their boats. It's something like from Gods of War. Have you ever seen that movie with Nicolas Cage? It's ridiculous. It's filthy there. I saw people that got what's called caustic pneumonia.
Yeah.
That's basically when you have chemicals from refineries burn away the protective mucosa, that kind of thing in your lungs and whatnot, in your mucous membranes. They get infected, and you actually get a form of pneumonia from, basically the filth. Is then you, then you breathe that in, and of course you have to give them a Z-Pack and whatnot. So I think there is something to that. Most veterans get a particulate matter form in their medical files upon leaving the Gulf, so you do qualify for some disability. As far as the anthrax shot, I think there's something to that. I think basically what it is that when that came out, two manufacturers made it, Bioport and Biothrax. You can check this out. Also, what I find interesting is when they first came out with the anthrax shot, they played around with the dosage and the dosage schedules. And you can verify this on BCHPIR, Immunization Healthcare Med Network. It's like at first it was administered as a subcutaneous shot. That means it goes in at an angle, to be filtered in. It's like, it's an anterior deltoid shot, filtered in, so it's filtered through. It wouldn't go directly into the muscle. What was causing reactions and some nerve damage? It's like the area of your elbow, that kind of thing. So they kind of said, okay, we screwed up a bit there. So they made it into an IM shot, okay? And then they played with the exactly. Yeah, subcutaneous intermuscular shot. Went with that kind of thing. They stuck with that, and then they changed the dosage schedule. Do you know what I'm saying? As far as it was a Schedule 3 sauce with a booster, I believe, if I remember correctly.
So it is possible that one of those differentiations could be the cause of what this other doctor was claiming.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. And plus, it's like you have to remember inexperience and user error. You have to remember that some of these guys are like just out of corpsman school, or it's like just out of Fort Sam. Okay, you might have like an E1 medic out there giving out shots, that kind of thing, and his basically instead of loading 0.5 milliliters, he has loaded
0.5.
It's like 1 or 5 milliliters,
right,
and given a shot. There's a lot of potential for error there. Okay, so I think there is a Gulf War syndrome per se, as far as you use it as an umbrella term. But I think it's like, and there is probably a lot of people that have received the anthrax shot. It's like improperly. But as far as one specific thing for the Gulf War syndrome, I'm not quite sure if I'm on board with that completely. But thank you for taking my call, sir.
Thanks for somebody who was on the ground there with the expertise. I appreciate it, John. Thank you for the call tonight.
I was just in the aid building, just basically looking at feet most of the time.
Somebody's got to do it. Right. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. The toll-free number here is 850. Some people are really into it. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Look confused, Mark.
Oh, they're just walking around in those boots. They're going to have a lot of foot problems. I mean, there wasn't, especially back then, there wasn't going to be orthopedics or anything like that.
The barbershop receptionist, Jareth Nebula, 33 years old, says he, she, they, it, z, whatever, are an agender alien now. After trying out being a man, after being born a woman,
gave it a shot.
They decided they wanted to be an alien and had their nipples removed. We'll tell you more coming up.
I need those things anyway.
855-450.
You're a man, you don't need them.
855-450-3733. Also, you can bring up whatever's on your mind. Plus, we can talk about Venezuela, Cuba, and more on the way. It's Free Talk Live.
You love Bitcoin. It's the future, right? Well, no, not if everyone stops using it. I mean, think about it. How many places in your town take Bitcoin? One? None? Let's be real. If this Bitcoin thing is ever going to happen, it's going to need your help. The good news is the guys at AnyPay have your back. We built a website called helpmetakebitcoin.com, and it's a place you can send any business, and they'll be set up to take Bitcoin in 5 minutes. helpmetakebitcoin.com.
Free Talk Live.
Well, just when you thought you've heard it all as far as what people can self-identify as, now there's a 33-year-old who says he's an alien.
Fantastic.
A so-called agender alien. So not just an alien, because a normal alien might have a gender.
He's not just a he.
Or a she.
Right.
The story...
he used to be a she, and now he's an it.
Yeah, right. Although, or they, or whatever.
A they, right.
Can he reproduce on his own as an alien?
Is he asexual or is he autosexual?
Good question. Jareth Nebula is its name. The barbershop receptionist, according to the UK's Mirror, has even had his nipples removed and shaves his eyebrows to, quote, make him feel less human. Jareth, who has named himself... Well, wait a minute. If you still feel kind of human, then that means you don't really feel like an alien, right?
Perhaps he's a hybrid.
Jareth, he's named himself after David Bowie's character in Labyrinth.
Nice.
And a nebula like a space cloud already has 78 stars across his body and hopes to increase that to 333. As he says, quote, 3 has always been my lucky number. Living alone, he now just wants people to accept who he is and admits he'd rather be called thing or it rather than he or she.
There you go. So we got it right.
Yeah, okay. I'm fine with it. That's fine.
It just seems like body modification culture taking it to an unnecessary level.
Yeah, that's kind of used to be a thing and not so much anymore. Remember
You don't think?
the dude that, well, I mean, I'm not talking about large gauge
You mean
earrings.
excessive. You're talking about...
I'm talking about the people that self-identify as snakes and stuff.
Yeah, where they split their tongue.
Splitting the tongue.
Well, and getting the tattoos of reptilian skin all over their body.
Yeah. Those are pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Jareth, who legally changed his name 4 years ago, says, quote, after coming out as transgender and believing I had finally found myself, I realized...
when I couldn't attention whore enough.
I realized I was wrong. I wasn't male or female or even human. He said further, or it said further, I don't think or feel like humans. I really can't
How
explain.
does it know what humans feel like? I don't know what humans
It's vestigial
feel like.
human emotions, Mark.
Yeah.
I can't really explain it to others. I'm simply otherworldly.
Yeah. Aren't you,
He's
though?
far out there.
Continuing, he said, or it said, I didn't feel comfortable as either gender or even anything in between. I know I'm stuck in a human form, and that's how I'm perceived by others. But to me, I'm an alien with no gender. Jareth first felt that he didn't fit in when he was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, or EDS, which is a rare lifelong condition affecting connective tissue and resulting in stretchy skin with an increased range of joint mobility.
Ooh.
Although he was...
Isn't that what the guy from Spin Doctors had?
The band? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Although he was born with the condition, he wasn't diagnosed until he was 26. Nicknamed Mr. Elastic by his doctors due to his stretchy skin, the condition can cause him chronic pain.
Shoot.
It's one benefit that his skin is wrinkle-free, which makes him appear younger. Jareth, who does not want to disclose his birth name, said, quote, the condition means I can pop my joints out on purpose, which was a fun party trick when I was a kid. Now I realize why I can do that. My pain in my joints got worse as I got older, and I would find it harder to move day to day. It said I go to a chiropractor once every 2 weeks and see a physical therapist once a week, as well as smoking medicinal marijuana for the pain. But there is currently no cure for EDS. And then they go on to talk about, although he says he was once a hyper-feminine female and modeled in his teens, at 29, Jareth decided that he was a trans male. He began taking testosterone injections, started to dress in a masculine way, and even had surgery to remove his breasts. But neither gender seemed to fit his personality, so he decided to do further research into alternative gender identification. He said, quote,
I'll bet that's a fun time on the internet.
What am I?
Yeah.
Uncle Google.
God. Siri.
Tell me who I am.
You're an attention whore.
See, I feel kind of bad.
I do
knowing
feel
that
bad.
He has, the was it EDS?
Right, has this condition, and that's
But all the
rough.
sympathy goes out the window with everything else.
Yeah. I
It
kind of feel
said,
similarly.
quote, I thought being a trans man would solve all my issues and inner battles with finding out who I was, but I wasn't as happy as I expected to be. I wonder how common that is, among people who...
Apparently very common.
Yeah.
But they're not allowed to study it. There was another article that I pulled up where there was like
universities aren't allowed to study it?
Well, one particular professor at a university wanted to study.
Shot down.
Was shot down by the liberal university culture because it would have too bad of an emotional impact on the study participants. So
after the fact to tell people, hey, look, looks like the numbers show that people who reassign themselves aren't necessarily any happier with themselves. Because, hey, guess what? Changing yourself on the outside, whether it be the clothes that you wear or the genitals that that are hanging or not between your legs, probably isn't going to change who you are on the inside, whoever that is, or what you're feeling.
But personal self-discovery is important. Everyone should go through a little bit of that.
Of course.
Maybe to that extent is maybe a little bit extreme.
I recently had green hair.
I saw the pictures.
Yeah, I did that because we had raised $36,000.
Right, it wasn't about attention or anything like that. Even though you came up with the idea.
I did come up with the idea. People liked the idea.
And you pretty much knew that it was going to happen.
Actually, I
you
did
couldn't
it.
have known.
I had a time frame, and we didn't hit the time frame.
No, we didn't. You're right.
But
you could have.
I could have said that I didn't want to do it, and I chose to do it. One of the reasons I chose to do it, among other reasons, like on one hand, I want my donors to be happy. And that it's amusing, it's something to make fun of, and everybody likes it. It's a stunt, and radio is replete
rewarding failure, Mark,
with stunts. But on the other hand, I'm like, this seems like something I could do, and it'd be kind of fun for a little while. And I went to a couple of conventions, and at conventions, it's a great thing to have.
Yeah,
people pay attention to the green hair. They want to talk.
Right.
Somebody with green hair is unlikely to judge them for who they are, is what I determined. But, wandering around, when I wasn't at conventions, I realized that some people kind of thought, is this some washed up rock star that I should know?
Former member of Green Day.
Right. Blink-182, is that you? Right? I don't know what they were thinking exactly, but I did have more than one person say, are you in a rock band that I should know or something?
Okay.
And, I told them that I was on the radio was the answer that I would give them. And so they're like, oh, a disc jockey. Oh, no wonder I don't know who the hell you are.
Right.
But I didn't give them any more information. Obviously, I don't spin discs for a living. And what I can say is that if you want a little extra attention in your life, there's ways to go about getting it, and I suspect what you're dealing with here is a person who just kept piling more and more things to get attention on themselves. Now, there are plenty of people who transition male to female and female to male or whatever because they feel they have to. And I feel for them because they have to deal with people like this who are just, mentally ill, basically. And it's difficult to know, what's what. And I think it's probably true that there's a lot of them that aren't any happier after they're done. And it's sad. I wish people were happy. I wish they could find a way to be happy. But I don't suspect this is the root.
Yeah, I feel like it's the same. Right, you've got to change. You've got to change whatever it is that's wrong at the root in order for that to manifest down. You don't get to be happy by moving physically to a new location. Changing your scenery or changing the, parts on your body. I don't think. That's not what I think. Now, maybe there's somebody out there who's like, well, yeah, it worked for me. I've been great ever since I changed to a man. Maybe those people do exist.
I'm sure they do exist. And I think that changing your location can absolutely be a thing. Remember, don't forget, seasonal affective disorder is real and diagnosed. Yeah. So, there's something about finding your happiness within, but there's also something about doing the thing that makes you happy at the same time.
For sure.
I think it starts with defining it from within, though. When you start to find it from within, then you start to do the things that make you happy.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. He said, or she or it said, quote, I thought being a trans man would solve all my issues, as I said, and further quote, I felt like I was trying to fit into someone else's box. I didn't want to be constrained. That's when I discovered what agender was. It continued saying, quote, I'd always been obsessed.
Agender is not asexual.
Correct. Agender is someone who identifies as genderless,
Right.
basically.
Asexual is a person who just doesn't want to have sex.
Saying further, quote, I'd always been obsessed with aliens, too, and what it means to be extraterrestrial, so the idea of being an agender alien fit perfectly as an identity for me. Let's continue here in moments. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. You can share your thoughts. We're going to the phones up next, and you can bring up whatever's on your mind. Live Sunday edition of Free Talk Live. Plus, coming up, we got Venezuela, Cuba, news about them on the way. Free Talk Live. It's Free Talk Live, live Sunday edition of the show. We're continuing. We'll take your calls and thoughts, and you can bring up anything you want. Our number here is 855-450-FREE. If you are an individual who rejects the initiation of force and you agree to abide by the ethics of the non-aggression principle, you qualify to use Liberty.menu. It's a tool for the Liberty community. It's at its heart a directory for events, businesses, and digital content creators. So whatever it is that you do, if you want other Liberty-friendly people to know about it, just put it up over at Liberty.menu. It's free to do that, so why not? Unless, of course, you want to stay in the closet, unless you don't want people to know that you care about freedom. Go to Liberty.menu and get signed up there. It's free to get whatever it is you want to put on there. Maybe you do more than one thing. Maybe you have more than one business, or you create an event, or you're a digital content creator. You qualify to be on Liberty.menu, and you can use code FTL like Free Talk Live. That'll get you a Free Talk Live listener badge on your profile. That's Liberty.menu. As we go to your calls and thoughts, it's Matthew in Louisiana. Matthew, you're on Free Talk Live with Ian, Richie, and Mark.
Hey, Mark, welcome back.
Thank you.
So Laurel is crushing it over on YouTube. She dropped another video about Operation Chokepoint and how it has resurrected itself.
I don't know what that is.
I think she might have. We'll go watch her video.
I don't
really
have. We have listeners right now who don't know who Laurel is, and they don't know what Operation Chokepoint is, and so they don't know how to go watch her video. So, can you give us an executive summary of what this is about?
Okay. Operation Chokepoint was the government using banks to control businesses. They first went after payday lenders, then they went after tobacco dealers, and then pornographers, and then the firearms dealers.
Just to be clear, you're talking about they're having banks close these people's accounts?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the conservative media.
Right, and now that they've expanded that to the conservative media.
Okay.
Especially figures in the conservative media. She has a video about that, and she goes into a lot of detail about that.
So who's doing this? Who's behind the scenes here?
The one thing my sister-in-law brought up to me, she's now part of our little alternative influencers network, is that the current chairman of the House Banking Committee is Maxine Impeach 45 Waters.
Okay.
Yeah, but this stuff was going on before Trump was in office.
Yes, it was, and it was shut down. It looks like it was shut down for a little while, and now it's just sprung back into life. And this time, it's going after other people besides just, the aforementioned businesses. Not that was good per se, but they've expanded, shall we say?
Well, good thing we've got cryptocurrencies to fall back on.
Yeah, I saw recently. I saw
Bitcoin.
Yeah,
there's some Bitcoin business that is. Anytime you go for FDIC insurance, apparently you fall under the spell of these people.
The Bitcoin people?
Yeah, because it was somebody was trying to set up a thing to fund Gab through Bitcoin.
Right, sure.
And Bitcoin Base or Bitcoin Bank or something like that has FDIC insurance.
What bank is this? I've not heard anything about a Bitcoin
I don't think
bank.
I don't think you know what you're talking about, with all due respect. Unless there's an actual Bitcoin bank with FDIC insurance out there that none of us have ever heard of, I mean, I'd be shocked if that were the case.
He did use the term base.
You'll have to bring it up with Laurel when she's on the program.
Hopefully she'll be here on Tuesday.
Yeah, I saw somebody on the internet recently write an article that said something to the effect of comparing Bitcoin to the internet is fallacious because the internet had a use case right away. And I'm like, Bitcoin's got a use case. Let's talk about Silk Road. Let's talk about remittances. Let's talk about
I just bought my dinner.
Yeah, right. Well, let's talk about people getting micropayments on the internet for their.
But there are actually people who today, 10 years into Bitcoin, are claiming there's no use case for Bitcoin.
Right. I mean,
it's just ridiculous.
Right. You are not paying attention if there's not if you don't think there's a use case for Bitcoin.
Right, but nonetheless, she's making the case that apparently there's this one organization that deals in Bitcoin that apparently sought FDIC approval, and as a result has joined the brigading mobs against the quote-unquote alt-right, Gab, because they have, I think, a Nazi or something on their
How could
site.
they even do that, though? Let's assume for a moment that a bank is funded through Bitcoin and has FDIC approval. How does that prevent Gab from existing or being funded with Bitcoin?
You have to find a way around this bank. I don't know. It's just
he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Okay.
Now, what is this operation called?
Chokepoint.
Chokepoint.
Okay. So, there's nobody who's in charge of Bitcoin, so no amount of banks that is either friendly or unfriendly to Bitcoin has any factor on whether or not you can accept Bitcoin. So if you want to accept Bitcoin,
one of the major Bitcoin
exchanges,
holders, well, it's not like it's an exchange. I mean, if he's talking about Coinbase, he used the term base.
Okay.
Here.
Okay.
If he's talking about Coinbase,
use the term
base. Yeah.
Base.
Yep. If it's Coinbase, they are certainly known for towing whatever government lines they imagine are in place.
Mm-hmm.
And
they were seeking them out at one point.
Oh yeah.
We must be in compliance.
They want to be as legit as they can possibly be. So it wouldn't surprise me if what they're saying is true about this, but I don't know.
Well, like I said, Laurel, hopefully it'll be there Tuesday, so we can.
Yeah. I mean, what is the point of the call, though? I mean, just to kind of tell us about her video, or that
No. I was going to bring up other stuff about the raft of gun control that's passing through the House of Representatives and currently being debated in the Senate, and looks like there's some Republicans who are oddly very much in favor of them. Like, really? What?
Is that a surprise to
Trump
you?
has said that he's at this point, nothing surprises me.
Okay.
If a hot air balloon were to streak by at 400 knots, I'd be like, okay, normal day.
Here's an unpopular opinion. If you are a 2A supporter and you are not planning on shooting the people who are coming to take your guns, you are simply virtue signaling your 2A position.
Yeah, I'm starting to come more and more in line with that opinion. Although I will also be telling you that in the event of such an insurrection, my lifespan will be measured in picoseconds.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matthew, for your call tonight. I appreciate hearing from you. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. I am of the opinion that violence is not the solution to problems with the state, because ultimately you're not going to shoot your way out, and that they're going to just end up slaughtering you, and then you'll end up being a martyr in the worst sort of way for the libertarian movement. Because
the best way to avoid the strike is to not be where the strike lands.
That's a good point. You can always leave the United States, I suppose. And then,
certainly a possibility.
You might be struck by another government. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. What is this Operation Chokepoint thing all about? Maybe we should look into that a little bit further. You can bring up whatever you want as well here on Free Talk Live. LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm. It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything you want here. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms. Just jump into one of those. There's 4 of them right there at the top of our Discord server. Join anyone you want. We'll see you in there, and we'll join you in it, and then we'll put you on the air. You'll be on sound almost like you're sitting here in the studio with me, Ian.
Richie Rich.
And Mark.
And also want to make sure you know about Bitcoin.com. We were just talking a moment ago about Bitcoin, and there's a lot of confusion in the world of cryptocurrency, especially among people who've only heard about it sort of tangentially from somebody. They know Bitcoin exists. They know it's kind of a thing, but they don't know anything about it. What is Bitcoin? Well, get started over at Bitcoin.com. They've got the Bitcoin Academy there that'll teach you the basics about what makes Bitcoin different, what makes it so important, the reason why it is, in my opinion, and I'm not the only one on this, the most important change to money in generations, if not maybe hundreds of years. It's huge.
Ever since the printing press.
Because it puts the power of money in the hands of the average person. And it takes it out of the hands of the banks and the governments. And once you get into cryptocurrency, you'll see. Go to Bitcoin.com, get started there. Not only do they have the Bitcoin Academy, but they've also got information on how to choose a Bitcoin wallet, buy your first Bitcoin. And again, you can buy a fraction of a Bitcoin. You don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. In fact, it would be hard for a lot of people to buy an entire Bitcoin all at once at this point. It's like $3,900 per Bitcoin, I think, as of today, or close to that. And they'll show you where you can spend your Bitcoin. You can read the latest news or engage with the community on the Bitcoin forum. Get started at Bitcoin.com as we continue with your calls and thoughts. We can talk about this Operation Chokepoint because I want to know more about it. Some are saying that it's been shut down by the Department of Justice. Apparently our co-host Laurel, who is generally on with us on Tuesdays now, so she should be in this week.
She used to be on Sundays.
Her recent video is saying that she believes that, at least according to the summary of the video, I haven't actually watched the video, that DOJ claimed this Operation Chokepoint is over, but she's saying she believes that it's still going, maybe being enforced individually by different banks like Chase, for instance. But let's go, before we learn more about that, we'll go to the phones, to the fun. It's Jim in New Hampshire, watching us on YouTube. Go ahead, Jim.
I'm going to ruin the image and the style.
LRN.FM.
That dump button and you're gone. Toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. And now, since you called during your ban, you're just banned for the rest of the year at this point because you were banned through the summertime. The only person who's banned from Free Talk Live for threats of violence, that person is now not allowed to call until 2020. So I suspect he will continue to violate that ban, and we will continue to dump his calls, and then that's that.
He seems to desperately want an apology. Whatever it is that you want an apology for, I apologize.
I doubt that's going to count, right? Because you don't know what it is, and so therefore, how is it a real apology, right? Like if you didn't specifically apologize for a certain thing. He wants me to apologize, I know that, for claiming that he's had 3 DUIs. And I'm not going to apologize because that was the evidence that we had at the time. If there's some other evidence...
I'm sorry, that's the evidence we had at the time. Yeah. So that's sort of an apology about the evidence.
Yeah. If you want to provide other evidence, you're welcome to email it. Oh, wait, no, you're blocked on email, so never mind.
Well, if you hadn't been threatening all over the place. I suppose
How about just get a life?
He can go into the troll zone.
That's right, yeah, you can go in the troll zone. I talked to you still in the troll zone. I talked to him on Saturday night when he called in. Last night he called to... Vincent Show. He's not banned from Vincent Show, so I talked to him on the air, and off the air when he continued to threaten to smash my head against the pavement or whatever it was that he was going to do to me.
Repeatedly, over and over. He's going to smash somebody's head against the pavement.
Yeah, he said he was going to come up in 24 hours, too, and get it done.
Forgiveness comes from within.
Yeah.
Got to find a way to forgive himself.
The funny thing is he claims to be a Christian.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
Well, the Bible's pretty clear that the Christians display the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.
Yeah.
And it says that if a tree bears bad fruit, that it should be cut down and burned. So, what it's saying there is if you're, especially, I'm really pointing a finger here at Jim, but, you're not displaying those things. You're not a Christian. At least that's what the Bible says.
I would agree. Let's go to Sarah in New Mexico. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead. Hello. Sarah in New Mexico. Going once.
Hello?
Hi, we have you now. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Yep.
Can you hear us? Sarah in New Mexico. Maybe she's having cell phone troubles. We're just going to put her back on hold, and we'll see if we can get that worked out. So this story coming from Forbes, Norbert Michael, the contributing writer over there, this is from November, so fairly recent.
How do you shorten Norbert? Does his wife call him Norbert?
Bert
would be what I would guess. I mean, there's a name you just don't see that much anymore. Norbert?
Last week brought new revelations regarding Operation Chokepoint, the Obama administration's effort to freeze politically disfavored businesses out of the financial system. Representative Blaine Luetkemeyer, who's from Missouri, helped lead a multi-year effort to shut the program down, highlighted some of these newest findings, and pointed out that stopping Operation Chokepoint is not a partisan issue. His legislation to prevent a redo of Chokepoint overwhelmingly passed the House with only 2 nay votes. It was an egregious affront to the rule of law, they claim. For those unfamiliar, it consisted of bureaucrats in several independent federal agencies taking it upon themselves to shut legal businesses such as payday lenders and firearms dealers out of the banking system. Given the nature of the U.S. regulatory framework, this operation was easy to pull off. Officials at the FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, for instance, simply had to inform the banks that they were overseeing that the government considered certain types of customers, quote, high risk, unquote. The mere implication of a threat was enough to pressure banks into closing accounts, because no U.S. bank wants anything to do with extra audits or investigations from the regulators.
Yeah, this is what happens when you allow the government to get in bed with the banks. So you have this FDIC insurance. I mean, it sounds like a really great idea, right? Like, you want your account covered up to $100,000, don't you?
$250 now. They raised it.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm paying attention to it because I know the government's going to do whatever the hell the government wants to do if a bank fails.
Right.
So whatever.
Will it cover you if the government decides to give your account a haircut?
Nope, it won't.
No, it sure won't.
No, it won't do anything like that. It's just window dressing. It's not like they're actually doing anything with this. It's just them saying they're going to do things, and they don't actually have to do them. And now that they're in bed with the banks, well, they just decided we don't want you doing business with the the brothels and the casinos and the gun dealers and I don't know, any of those XXX sites, whatever it is. They don't want you doing it.
See, and again, at this point, now that we have cryptocurrencies and alternatives to the banking system, who cares, right? At one point, if you wanted to run your business, you had to have a bank account. You had to have an account for deposit, to take your, revenue for the day. But we've evolved past that point.
Well, we haven't yet, though. I mean, in theory, you could do what you're talking about, Richie. You can hook up Bitcoin, accept payments only in Bitcoin. But if you're a gun dealer, if you're Ruger or something like that, you're a manufacturer, you're a dealer, and all of a sudden you lose your banking access, well, good luck convincing all of your customers to switch over to Bitcoin. You're going to lose significant volume of sales.
What could be done? Let's say, you pick a geographic area. Let's say Denver. Right? Pot businesses in Denver were having a difficult time getting banks at one point.
All pot businesses.
Right. Yeah. You could somebody could have opened a business with an armored car. All you need is an armored car and a gun license.
Yep.
Not that hard. Lots of people with gun licenses in Colorado, and an armored car, I've seen them for $2,500 on eBay.
Damn. You've looked for armored cars on eBay?
Yeah, for whatever reason, I just like.
What did you have in mind?
Just armored cars.
Okay,
just DeLorean. So, you go into the business, you get the bag of money, you accept their money in exchange for the Bitcoin, or Bitcoin Cash would be my preference, or a variety of other coins out there, but something they've heard of, and make the exchange. There, they've got the cryptocurrency. They can put it in their wallet right then and take care of it, and then you take the cash out the door, and then you figure out some way to interface and deal with these companies. So this could absolutely have been done, and done easily. It just hasn't been.
All right, let's continue here with more on this Operation. Whatever they call it, Operation Chokepoint. That's what it was. Shutting down businesses that are politically insensitive. 855-450, free like freedom. Join us. It's Free Talk Live. Dial on in toll free here. We're talking about the Operation Chokepoint, which one of our callers brought up. We weren't intending to talk about it, but it sounds interesting, so let's get into it. I mean, I think we kind of heard about this maybe off and on here and there, but I don't remember hearing the term Operation Chokepoint.
I think so, but they love their little phrases.
Well, apparently it was a real thing in the federal government that this was going on.
Yeah.
It was the FDIC was involved in informing banks, it's according to Forbes magazine, that certain types of customers, like payday lenders or firearms dealers or marijuana businesses, would be considered high risk. And now the claim is they're targeting conservative media as well. Now, again, I don't follow this story closely, and maybe Laura will have more to say about it on Tuesday night. But just to kind of give us the basics, we'll continue with the story here, and we'll also take your calls and thoughts. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And yes, we are on Twitch. That is where you can watch the show if you would like, at twitch.lrn.fm. That's our video streaming platform, the primary one. We're still on YouTube as well, but it's lower quality there. So the best quality is over on our Twitch channel, which we just hit 700 followers yesterday or late yesterday night or something like that. So thank you to everybody who is following us on Twitch. Definitely appreciate that. By no means are we a big show there, but we're there. And the more followers we have, the more likely more people will watch the episodes as they're happening, and the more people that watch them, the more people will be likely to find them. Because when you're
featured,
right, when we go on Twitch, or even if you're not featured, we've never been featured on Twitch to my knowledge, because if we were, we'd probably have a huge explosion in our chat room. But they have categories, right? So we're in the talk shows category on Twitch, and it depends on the night, but sometimes we're in the top 15 or so, and the more viewers we have, the higher up we'll be on that chart. The higher up we are, the more people will see us. So it's one of those things. Numbers matter. So if you can follow us on Twitch, we sure would appreciate it.
We need a coordinated Twitch bomb.
I don't know how you do that, but if someone can coordinate that, they have my support. So I mean, we're kind of the slow and steady wins the race kind of thing. We don't really know how to do internet
right. The rest
marketing.
of these talk shows aren't making money, so they're not going to stick around.
You mean the ones on Twitch?
Yeah.
Twit is definitely making money.
Yeah,
This Week in Tech.
I don't doubt that Twit.
They have 10 times the viewers that we do.
I wouldn't doubt that at all.
Yeah.
That's one of the only other podcasts I listen to.
Yeah, so there you go. He charges a lot of money for his ads, too.
90% of the talk shows that are on Twitch aren't making money.
Probably not.
So they're short-term, because they're just passion projects, and passion projects don't stick around.
Although, to be clear, Mark, I mean, people can easily donate through Twitch as well. Most of these guys have, like we do, with tip.lrn.fm. It's right there at the top of our video at twitch.lrn.fm. If you watch the video, you'll see the tip URL. You can just throw in a tip, and then I throw out some cash to the people in the studio if you do that. And so we appreciate it. So if you're a gamer, or you're one of these other talk show people on Twitch, you could be making good money especially if you are a hot girl.
Yeah, if you're a hot girl, yeah, absolutely.
You're going to be making good money.
But then it's not a talk show anymore.
I'm now going to self-identify as a hot girl.
Right.
Start a Twitch show.
Good luck with that.
As long as we're having agender aliens.
Yeah. There's science behind that.
You got a lot of work to do. Let's go to Sarah. She's actually there now. Apparently was having phone trouble earlier. Sarah, are you with us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. Go ahead.
Okay, well, you know what? Today's Sunday. I went to the Unitarian Church today, and I met quite a few people that they were very much in support of banning the cigarette for 21-year-old or less.
Now, what's up with that? Why be so inconsistent? Why not just go ahead and advocate a total ban for all people?
Well, I mean, that's what they're trying to do in Hawaii.
Right.
Of course, that's what I would like.
That's what you'd like.
Move to Hawaii.
But it's all of these things that I believe in small increments, like baby steps, one thing at a time.
Baby steps to tyranny.
A little bit at a
Well, that's the only way you get it implemented fully.
Well, Sarah, so let me ask you this: you're for a ban on people over the age 18,
under 21.
Yeah, under 18 being able to buy cigarettes, obviously, and we've had that for a very long time here in the United States. And the reality is that the vast majority of people who smoke started when they were younger than 18. So,
meaning it was illegal when they started?
It was illegal for them to purchase, at the very least, cigarettes.
And possess.
I don't know if it was to possess or not.
I can tell you it's illegal in New Hampshire.
Okay, I don't know what the rules are now.
If you look like you're under 21 in Keene, you will be stopped by the police.
That's right, wow. And that's the problem. Is now you're having people that are 22 have to show identification for having cigarettes, and that's a violation or whatever. But at this point, who cares if the government has to spend millions of dollars on a class action suit because they've been discriminating against people? By God, we got to stop a couple of people from getting cigarettes. But the reality is that cigarettes have been banned for people under the age of 18 for a very long time, and people under the age of 18 have been getting cigarettes. So this law isn't working, Sarah. Why do you want to spend my money on it?
Well, you know what? It does matter to you. It seems like it makes no difference. But
really,
you know what? It's like let's say 5,000 people. Let's say maybe 3,000 kids will pick up smoking habit, like here in New Mexico, on our state. Okay, if you raise it to 21, that's 3,000 less.
But they're not going to wait to 21 because they didn't wait till 18.
Yeah, well, they'll still be smoking at 14 and 15.
People like Sarah and Chris Cantwell are on the same side on this particular mindset, by the way. Did you know you're on the side of the Nazis, Sarah?
Well, the Nazis, I mean...
politics makes for strange bedfellows.
Okay, freedom is one thing, but when you have freedom that it bother and affect the health of other people,
cigarettes really don't affect the health of very many other people. They largely affect the people that consent to the smoking. Yes, there are kids in cars. And I think that, and certainly kids in households and stuff like that,
and the bus stop that Sarah waits at.
And I'm fine with it, Sarah. Like if you want to go tyranny, let's go tyranny for real. But I mean, here I am. Let's give out licenses for smoking. In order to get a license for smoking, you have to be spayed or neutered. Because I'm down with all of it. If it's for spaying and neutering, people willing to, I'm in. Whatever it is, just spay and neuter humans, and you got my vote.
What do you think about that?
Freedom is one thing, but the thing is,
just keeps on going.
They bother me.
Yes, it bothers me too.
Is annoying,
I
isn't
hate
it?
cigarette smoke. I hate it.
And you say that as a former smoker.
I'm a former smoker, but I believe, Sarah, if you feel like going out and opening a bar and you want people to be able to smoke in your bar, you should be able to do that. But you can't do that in a lot of states in home of the free.
Is your goal to ban everything that bothers you on a personal level?
Well, I hate soda pops too. Soda pop could be banned. But, the thing is, if I could get small increments, one step at a time, if I could do just a little bit at a time, we raise the cigarette tax. If we could raise it up to 21 this year, we could raise it up to 30, in 5 more years. So I just believe in small increments, add up to the big picture.
Just like the Nazis. How's it feel? How's it feel to be just like Christopher Cantwell?
Are you okay paying extra taxes to incarcerate all those violators?
I do not know how much of the incarceration that they're going to do.
No, they could just raise the cigarette tax and have the cigarette tax cover the incarcerations.
Well, then they'll just sell cigarettes that aren't taxed.
Well, then you can choke them to death, according to Sarah.
Less people smoking. My goal is if there's less people smoking, there'll be less people walking their dog and smoking cigarettes and aggravating me. My maintenance.
That's all about
What's the name
Sarah.
of this person that's smoking cigarettes and walking their dog? They sound like they bother you a lot, Sarah.
Sarah, thank you for the call tonight. I appreciate it. Good luck with your tyranny.
I would consider staying indoors.
If you were Sarah, you mean?
Yeah, because then there's no one there to aggravate.
Oh, then it's the neighbor next door who's smoking in their apartment.
Man, you've got to be pent up to be upset about somebody smoking outside.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're just... You don't have enough things to worry about.
Yeah.
If you're worried about somebody smoking outdoors.
Well, yeah, she doesn't have to worry about paying rent.
And she was rallying support of the Unitarian
You said
Church,
something
too.
about her taxes. Sarah doesn't pay taxes.
No, I didn't say anything about her taxes.
I did.
Oh, okay.
Richie
Gotcha,
did.
Yeah. So, and the point I wanted to make about the Nazis there was we had the Keene City Council here in little old Keene, New Hampshire, in all their wisdom, decided they wanted to pass one of these raise it to 21 things here in Keene, which of course means anybody under 21 has to drive to Swansea now in order to, or wherever outside of Keene to get their cigarettes, and then they have to conceal them while they're in Keene because, again, the police might approach them. Now, the police chief claimed they weren't going to be doing that, but that's, I'm sure, BS.
Well, what's the point of making it illegal then? If you want to make it illegal to sell cigarettes to somebody under the age of 21, that makes, if you want to just it makes a lot more sense to just outlaw the sale to somebody under the age of 21. Because then you can go trick, go in there and trick the person working behind the counter and to selling cigarettes to somebody under the age of 21, and you can get them.
I used to do that too.
Yeah. Sell cigarettes? To underagers?
Yep.
Nice. 855-450 free. Somebody's got to do it. 855-450-3733. You can take control of the airwaves here. Hour number 3 is on the way. And join us on the radio. It's Free Talk Live Sunday show.
There are basically 2 types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll-free here. Bring up whatever you want. The number's 855-450, free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We've been talking about, well, first of all, whatever it is you want to discuss, because you can call in and take control of the airwaves, but also this Operation Chokepoint, the idea that bureaucrats, the FDIC, and other government agencies are pressuring, like banks, for instance, to shut down accounts for certain industries like gun dealers or payday lenders, and some are even claiming conservative talk hosts or opinion people on YouTube.
Conservative
or
media.
Yeah, conservative media. At least that's the claim of a caller who called in earlier tonight. With you in the studio, by the way, it's Ian.
Richie Rich.
And Mark.
We can continue that discussion, and just wanted to let you know, Mark, in the Discord chat, Footmatic says, Mark needs to grow his hair out again. He looks like my grandfather, who is always pissed off.
I had the strangest experience with this new haircut. So, for those that don't know, I had dyed my hair green for this
charity.
This charity, this orphanage that we raise money for. Go to hope.freetalklive.com if you want to find out more. And after the Anarchapulco, I'm like, I've had enough of having green hair. I've fulfilled all that I need to do, and so I had him buzz it down. I mean, not super low or anything, but pretty low to the point that it's kind of hard to comb, if you get the idea. It's probably a quarter inch, maybe half inch, somewhere in that range.
Maybe a little longer than like a number 2 or something. It's not very long at all.
My dad was 41 years old when I was born. He was kind of an older guy, and he, by his whole life, had a butch haircut. My whole life had a butch haircut. Rode a motorcycle, smoked cigarettes, the whole thing. And he's kind of a ruddy complexion guy. Turns out I am too. I'm not actually related to my father, for those that don't know. I'm adopted.
Okay.
But I looked up from the bathroom at when I was in Acapulco. I just shortly after I got my haircut, I looked up, saw myself in the mirror, and thought for just a moment I had seen my father. I'm like, God, are you kidding? I was just stunned. I'm not even related to this guy, but I look like him. And I will not be keeping this butch haircut. It wasn't my preference to begin with. I was just sick of having green hair. I completely understand where you're coming from, gentlemen, and I will be growing it out. I think it's wrong for a guy of my age, of a certain age here, I'm 48 years old, who has a full head of hair to not display that full head of hair, right? I mean, it's just kind of a rough thing. Doing the bald thing is for people who have good-looking skulls anyway, and I'm not one of them.
Yeah, I thought you could relate to that comment, so that's why I shared it here. So the toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. Officials,
if you want to see all this, you go to cam.freetalklive.com.
That's right.
And you can see us all in the studio.
Officials at the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, according to Forbes magazine, had to inform banks that they were overseeing that the government considered certain types of their customers high risk. And that means that the banks want to shut down your account, because if you're high risk, it doesn't necessarily mean you're doing something illegal. Selling guns, for instance, legally isn't an illegal thing to do, but they're closing down those accounts, apparently.
But what's the FDIC got to do with any of this? This is an organization that's supposed to pay you, the customer, if your bank goes under.
Mm-hmm.
What does that have to do with these high-risk businesses?
They must be a regulator of some sort as well.
Right, because that's how it goes.
Yeah.
First they dangle the carrot in front of you, and then comes the stick.
Banks are incredibly sensitive to any type of pressure from federal regulators, and they know the regulators have enormous discretion. The new revelations are quite scary because they show exactly what federal regulators can do with that discretion, even to law-abiding citizens. As one of the representatives points out, quote, in one example of blatant intimidation, a bank terminated its relationship with a legal business after threats from the FDIC. The bank eventually surrendered to the pressure, and when the bank notified the FDIC of the decision, they admitted that a risk assessment showed the business, quote, posed no significant risk to the financial institution, including financial reputation and legal risk, yet they still terminated the banking relationship. For years, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency officials have continually denied any wrongdoing, yet in the newly unsealed documents, we see proof of a conscious decision to work in conjunction with the FDIC against payday lenders, unquote. In fact...
Payday lenders are they don't like them because they charge too much interest. Well, there's a reason they charge too much interest.
They're dealing with shifty people.
Well, the people that they're lending money to can't get a loan any other way, and the reason they can't get a loan in all likelihood is because they haven't paid loans back.
Right.
So, if you want somebody to give a loan to people who can't get loans, and loans can be used for lots of good reasons. But if you want somebody to give a loan to somebody who can't get a loan, then you need the payday lenders. Or you need to create a government program, which I believe is what the ultimate thing is we need to socialize lending now.
Evidence suggests that the highest-ranking officials at the FDIC were involved in Operation Chokepoint. On page 5, these facts are revealed. Point, in late 2010 or early 2011, the FDIC's senior Washington officials convened a meeting of all regional directors. At this meeting, the senior deputy director for the Division of Supervision and Consumer Protection, is that for a mouthful, informed them that, quote, if an institution in their region was facilitating payday lending, the regional director should require the institution to submit a plan for the existing business, unquote. These instructions the senior deputy director conveyed came from the 6th floor, a chairman and senior leadership of the agency. At the meeting, he conveyed the following message, quote, if a bank was found to be involved in payday lending, someone was going to be fired, unquote. Other sections of the unsealed document show that government officials undertook a concerted effort to stop bank owners from publicly revealing these regulatory shakedowns. For instance,
we don't want to show that. We want the banks to be responsible, not us.
For instance, Mr. Brown, the associate director, responded that, quote, because of legal considerations, the FDIC has never expressly stated publicly that our supervised institutions aren't permitted to do business with payday lenders, but the payday lending guidance and our public posture makes clear that we view payday loans as extremely risky. Well,
so do payday loan operators.
Right.
When Deputy Miller inquired whether this hostility extended to having a deposit relationship with a payday lender in addition to offering payday loans directly, Brown responded that, quote, we're doing more legwork on this, unquote, but that when such a relationship had been considered previously, the chairman was unhappy about that type of arrangement. And then it just goes on with more of this purported evidence that this all was real and existed, and they don't really get into any of their targeting of the gun agencies, but I guess the idea is that if they were doing this to the payday lenders, then they could have done it to any other industry that were politically unpopular.
Cryptocurrency aside, I've always said if you want to become the bank, starting a payday lending operation is probably the closest thing you'll come to it.
They are banks. They're banks for people who are unbanked, essentially. It's a way for them to cash checks, and their paychecks in a lot of cases, and to get loans, and all the things that banks do, these payday lenders, they do them.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think me and you could ever, like, become First National of Keene or anything like that, but we could have.
You could buy a bank. Okay. I mean, it's possible, but you're probably right. If you're starting out the board of directors on a new bank, you don't want you and me on it. Yeah. That's for sure.
In other news about this Operation Chokepoint from the side of the world of cryptocurrency, CCN, which I presume stands for Cryptocurrency News. .com has a story claiming that Operation Chokepoint, and this was written back in 2014, had driven 30 industries into Bitcoin.
See?
So they list some different categories that are being pursued by the Department of Justice: ammunition sales, cable box descramblers. Do those things still exist? Coin dealers, credit card schemes, credit repair services, dating services. Now, we definitely have seen that happen, right? Where they've targeted like the escorts, basically, or the websites which...
It's not dating.
No, I understand. But they targeted the websites that allowed people to post ads, not just Craigslist, but there were other ones that were...
Backpage.
That was it, Backpage. Okay. And they drove either those companies out of business entirely or drove them into the realm of only accepting cryptocurrency.
And I've used Backpage for, like,
Sure, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, they were a legitimate competitor.
No, they had other things there,
yeah,
right?
They were a legitimate competitor to Craigslist for a long time.
Right. Are they even still in business?
No.
Or did they close down?
They were shut down by the FBI.
Right. All right. The toll-free number here is 855-450. Free firearm sales, fireworks sales, get-rich products, lifetime guarantees, lottery sales, and a few more. Pharmaceutical sales, Ponzi schemes. More coming up here in moments. You can take control of the airwaves, bring up whatever's on your mind. We can talk about what's going on in Cuba. Did you know they've got a new constitution? It's Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll-free and bring up whatever you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Cuba then voted themselves a new constitution. Woo! Tell you about what that means coming up here in a little bit with you tonight. It's Ian,
Richie Rich,
and Mark.
And don't forget, we've got video clips now over at clips.freetalklive.com. We had them in the past, several years ago, and then, well, nobody's making money on it, so the person who was producing them stopped doing it. But we brought him out of retirement. And he's back at it now, and it's been great having video clips made out of Free Talk Live because it makes it easier to watch. Eric Freerock's the guy who's been putting these together, and he's done a great job putting in actual, like, more interesting things to watch in the videos than just us sitting here in the studio.
Because that's such compelling content.
Yeah.
Right,
Three guys around a table.
Yep. And so he's doing a good job with that and taking clips from our shows, our radio shows, and making videos out of them and putting them up on YouTube over at clips.freetalklive.com. You can subscribe to that channel. It's his channel, Liberty Bits. And you can also follow us on social media, twitter.freetalklive.com. Get you to our Twitter. We post the links there. There's our Mastodon, which is a decentralized alternative to Twitter. You can go to Toot, T-O-O-T, toot.freetalklive.com and follow us on Mastodon, or follow our Telegram channel at telegram.freetalklive.com. So if you want to see the Free Talk Live video clips, they are linked on all of those different social media.
Also, go there, like, subscribe, do the whole thing with on YouTube, because that's helpful to us and getting this channel up and flying.
And more importantly, share the ones that you like, because they're easy to share. They're small compared to a 2-hour-long or 3-hour-long podcast.
Much more consumable.
Exactly. So
make it go viral.
Yeah, maybe one of them will go viral. Who knows? You never know when it will and which one will. But the more we put out there, the more likely one of them will. And if you share them. So thank you for that. Check it out at clips.freetalklive.com. As we go to David, he's in New Mexico. David, listening online via TuneIn. Go ahead.
Speaking of that, your friend made a clip out of. He titled it "States Exist at the Pleasure of the Federal Government" or something like that, and he thumbnailed it with a historical map of the United States back in the days of the territories, and I was laying out some history of the state of New Mexico in relation to why the state of New Mexico is such an oppressive place, more oppressive. The state of New Mexico government is more oppressive, I allege, than the federal government, and I was explaining it because of its history, that Spain had sent some conquistadors over here looking for gold, and they committed some genocide, and they followed the Rio Grande northward which is right here in New Mexico territory. And one thing that I didn't put in there that's actually, since I wouldn't mention this except for you made a clip out of it. One thing that's very notable, but almost nobody knows, and it explains a lot, is a large percentage, and I don't know if that means 30% or 50% or 70%, but it was a large percentage of the Spaniards that came from Spain to Mexico and then ended up here in New Mexico. A large percentage of them were Sephardic crypto Jews, if you know what a crypto Jew is.
A secret Jew.
And they were secret Jews because they were persecuted in Spain and elsewhere in the Inquisition and at other times, and they volunteered or maybe were given options of, getting the hell out of here, meaning getting out of Spain to escape because the king and queen needed people that would volunteer to go to a dangerous, unknown location to seek gold for the empire, and they were motivated to escape the persecution, and so they ended up here in New Mexico as practicing Catholics, but in every one of their houses, in the hidden in the closet, hidden somewhere, were their old Jewish religious documents and artifacts and such like that, and to this day, in fact, Eddie Aragon, the guy that runs the Cuba radio station here that carried your program for a while, he's a crypto Jew, has a crypto Jew ancestry, and he says as much on the radio, and it has an influence to this very day, that Patron system, the Spanish, the Patron system, the conquistador mentality, and the domineering Catholics. And then I'm lacking an adverb for the Jewish side of it, but it all combined to make the treachery that is the state of New Mexico here in this little third world country.
Well, everybody thinks their state is worse than, or their government is worse than the other governments around the world.
But this one actually is. This one actually is. They're trafficking in small children, and in fact, they trafficked my children, and I proved it. At it with a unanimous.
I'm telling you, it happens everywhere. Thank you for the call tonight, David. I appreciate it. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. Every Department of Children and Families is corrupt. Every state is violent, whatever the history happens to be. And, of course, today, to suggest that New Mexico is worse than the federal government, I'm sorry. New Mexico isn't invading any other countries around the rest of the world.
They don't have an army.
Yeah.
If only there were a way to rank the states in such a way that you could tell which one was best and which one were worse.
Well, there actually is.
You can go to Cato and Cato.org, and they've got a system for doing that, and you can actually weigh what you prefer and what's important to you, and you'll find the state that's most suited if that's what you want. And I think it's interesting.
The study is called Freedom in the 50 States.
Yeah, Freedom in the 50 States.
And it has its own website, not Cato.org.
But it's I think you can get there through
You
Cato.
might be able to, but if you just search for Freedom in the 50 States, it'll take you right.
Freedom in the 50 States.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Is it 50?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And New Hampshire will come out number one if you search in certain criteria, and New Florida will come out number one under certain criteria. And look,
but there's still corruption in both places.
If you want to smoke pot, you're not going to feel free in Florida or New Hampshire, though. You're going to feel more free in someplace like Colorado or Seattle or
Washington.
Seattle, Washington, or wherever. California,
heck, Massachusetts.
Yeah, probably less so, but Massachusetts.
I don't know. Massachusetts might be the first state that gets the the lounges. So in all the other places where that have legalized it in the United States, from what I understand, they don't yet have the marijuana lounge. Correct me if I'm wrong on this. Maybe we're just so far from the West Coast we don't know, and they're doing it already in Washington or Colorado or something like that.
Right next to the hookah bar.
But yeah, like someplace that you can go.
I've been to a couple of hookah bars, and it's really kind of a nice experience.
Okay.
Yeah, I dig it.
I just don't smoke, so I just hung out with my friends who were.
I generally don't smoke, but
hookah smoke isn't much like smoking.
Yeah, I get tired of it after a short while too. It's like it's exhausting.
Yeah,
after a bit. All right, so you can bring up whatever you want here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Cuba, a place that we've paid a little bit of attention to over the years here on Free Talk Live. Of course, Fidel Castro. He ended up dying, right? Isn't he's finding
as we
that.
all do?
Yeah.
At some point or another, you will leap from the mortal coil.
Before he died, he gave up control of Cuba to his brother Raul,
who will also die.
But before he did, Raul kind of changed things a little bit to give people a little bit more control over the property that they don't actually own in Cuba, to allow them to decide what crops to grow, that kind of thing. So giving people a little bit more latitude. And now Cuban voters, according to AlJazeera.com, have ratified a new constitution within the last week. And
I'm sure it's really great, and they won't follow it either.
Well, let's talk about what it does, allegedly, here. Now, I don't think Al Jazeera is correct in saying that it legalizes the free market. It certainly doesn't do that, but that's what they're claiming. So we'll get into it coming up on Free Talk Live. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. It's Free Talk Live. Live Sunday edition of the program. There's a new constitution in Cuba. What does it mean? What does it actually say? We'll get into a little bit more about that coming up here in moments. Your calls and thoughts welcome. Our number is 855-450, free like freedom. And joining you in the studio tonight, it's Ian,
Richie Rich,
and Mark.
We continue with your calls and thoughts. Let's go to Vernon. He's in New Orleans. Vernon, you're on Free Talk Live, listening online. Go ahead.
So back to the earlier in the show, you were talking about how transgender athletes were trying to accommodate those athletes so that they could participate and I guess make it fair
in the Olympics.
And for some reason, this discussion seemed to click something in my brain to where you all may actually have a problem with this. And I guess I didn't catch the end of the discussion as far as what do you all recommend as a solution? Because to me, with pretty much every topic you all ever talk about, it's like whatever you want to do goes. However you want to live goes. Fork Fest, everything is A-okay as long as it doesn't interfere with me. So For some reason, the stance that I was hearing tonight may go against that principle. And so I just wanted clarification on that.
Oh, well, just because you think everybody should be able to do whatever it is they want so long as they don't harm anybody else doesn't mean you can't have an opinion about them doing the things that they want to do. It doesn't mean that, we can't have an opinion about what the Olympic rules are. It's their organization. They can do whatever they want. I don't watch the Olympics, but it doesn't have anything to do with their positions on transgender. I just find it boring.
Yeah, I think that an organization that is non-governmental should be able to have whatever rules that organization wants. If you want my opinion on how organizations generally, athletic organizations, should handle this, is I think they should have two divisions. They should have either one division that we either call women's or what I like to call XX. Because they should have to take a genetic test, and if they come out with 2 X chromosomes, they may participate in that particular division. If they do not have 2 X chromosomes, they then participate in the other division, which I will call open, at which point you cannot dispute that everybody doesn't get an opportunity to participate as an athlete. The fact is that not all men are equal when it comes to athletics. I was born just simply not as athletic as your average guy, and I was never going to be in the Olympics. So the fact that somebody might have been born with 2X and a Y chromosome or whatever doesn't mean that they are disadvantaged, because athletics is all about advantages and disadvantages from a genetic level and hard work.
Yeah, and I kind of second their position.
So just simply allowing them to not participate in the sex they identify with, which of course I agree with you, would give them a disadvantage.
Not the sex they identify with. No. This is genetics. It's a genetic-based division. If you can supply...
I'm saying you disagree with them participating with the sex they identify with, correct?
Yes.
I only say that there should be two divisions, and one division should be for people who can produce 2X chromosomes and only 2X chromosomes, and the other division is for people who produce a different chromosomal variant.
Richie, it sounded like you wanted to share.
Oh, I was agreeing with him. Yes, unlike Mark's solution, I proposed like the third division solution, which is genetically male, genetically female, and other, to keep the playing field as level as possible for all male participants, all female participants, and then those who self-identify as something other than one of those two.
So should there be some sort of an enforcement mechanism if the person is caught, I don't even know how you could fake that kind of a test, but let's just pretend you could. And so you had someone that identified as a female that originally was a male, and they participate, and then they got caught later doing that. Should there be some sort of an enforcement mechanism to punish them?
Yeah, that would be you don't get to be in the Olympics.
Yeah, or you
take
get
your gold medal.
DQ'd, and the silver medalist gets the gold medal.
Yeah, they take
So they should strip them of their medal.
Of course they could.
Yeah.
They've stripped a lot of people, including Jim Thorpe, the world's greatest athlete ever. They took his medals from him for simply playing baseball.
Really?
So, yeah.
To tie our discussion to a larger conversation, as long as it has to do with a private entity, you don't seem to have a problem with it. But when it comes to a government entity making these type of decisions, there is a problem. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's pretty much it, because a government entity demands that you pay it. Whereas the private entity does not demand that you participate in it. You can be an athlete without participating in the Olympics, if that's what you choose to do.
But you might be paying for the Olympics through your cable bill, or if you have cable, of course, or your internet bill. I mean, a portion of that may go to that indirectly. And so,
well, I'm sure that's true.
Let's just pretend if there was some sort of indirect contribution to this private organization, would you then feel as though you have more of a right to say what they do?
As a cable customer, I would feel like I have the right to stop having cable. But, the Olympics, I would agree with you, the Olympics is pervasive. But I still think they have a right to, make up their rules. Whereas the government, on the other hand, is just an organization of force. And that's an entirely different situation. You can't opt out of the government.
Yeah, you can armchair quarterback anything you want.
Mark, I'm so glad you're back. You bring balance to this show. Thank you all.
You're welcome.
Thanks for the call tonight, Vernon. I think we all are kind of in agreement on this.
I know, but I have a unique ability on this show, Ian, to explain these ideas to people who are somewhat reticent and a little stiff-necked about them. Mm-hmm. You, on the other hand, are like, screw you and the government and all, and the horses you all rode in on, right? Like that's what your shtick is, and that's how you do it. And From my standpoint, that's not how I see it. I see these as organizations, and I think Vernon brings up a really interesting point that some organizations are really pervasive, but ultimately, you don't have to watch the Olympics, you don't have to use Facebook, you don't have to use Google.
And you don't have to go to Cuba, but now maybe you'll want to. In fact, Mark, aren't you planning a trip down there?
I am planning a trip to Google.
Is that this year?
Driving to Cuba, yes, this year.
Oh, cool. That'll be interesting.
Yep. The folks from Freedom Fest are actually putting on a Cuban tour, and I figured, well, if I'm going to go, I might as well go with those folks.
Right on. It's going to be interesting because things are changing over there in Cuba. I mean, now you've got the United States has loosened the restrictions as of the Obama administration.
That's true, but they always could do business with Canada.
Sure. Yeah,
so,
that's true.
I mean,
you could fly there from Canada too, right? Secretly or something like that in the past?
Yeah, if you really wanted to.
Extra steps.
Yeah. If you wanted to get to Cuba as an American,
you could have.
You could have.
Yeah. But now it's easier, and that's a good thing because it means more people are going to go. More people are going to connect with the Cuban people from the United States, and that can only
a good thing.
Yeah, that can only result in good care. Things.
Right. And I understand why many Cubans who are living in the United States are bitter about these things, but at some point or another, you just got to let it go.
So they signed up for a new constitution in a vote, which was very, very well attended. Apparently, over 80% voted in favor of the new constitution. It was approved by the National Assembly late last year. This, according to Al Jazeera. It enshrines private property.
Interesting.
And
enshrines.
Yeah, and promotes foreign investment. State enterprise does remain the cornerstone of the economy, however, though the new constitution dictates that state-owned companies have autonomous management. So it sounds kind of like China almost there.
Yeah.
On the political front, the document limits the president to 2 consecutive 5-year terms, so no more lifetime presidencies. But does not open the door for Cubans to elect the president directly. The Communist Party remains the central political force in its one-party system.
Hey, that sounds a lot like China.
Jose Hassan Yves, editor of the non-state media outlet. Who knew?
Yeah, who knew? I imagine Cuba saw how China is pulling this off and said, well, we want some of that.
Try that here.
Some of that sweet, sweet cheddar.
Yeah. Apparently, the non-state media outlet is named El Toque, told Al Jazeera by legalizing economic measures put in practice in recent years. The new constitution adapts to a set of reforms that are already underway. So basically, this is making it official, what they've already been doing, which is to say, allowing private property in Cuba.
So no eminent domain?
I don't think
not that kind of private property.
Oh, I'm sorry. Not too private property?
Actual private property, sorry.
All right, more on the way here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. This is Free Talk Live. It is Free Talk Live. You dial toll-free, bring up whatever you want. Here in these remaining moments on the live Sunday edition, our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. It's 855-450-3733. Also, we've got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. And in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
Richie Rich.
And Mark.
Richie, what is your podcast?
Oh, The Anarchist Experience at anarchistexperience.com.
And it's you and a co-host, right?
Yep. His name's MC. He is currently on a ranch in California doing manly things to earn an eagle.
Excellent. An eagle
ring.
What is that?
Like Eagle Scout kind of stuff?
No. We can talk about it later.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, hey, check out The Anarchist Experience. It also airs on LRN.FM. TheAnarchistExperience.com?
AnarchistExperience.com.
Thank you. So no the. AnarchistExperience.com for more of Richie Rich. It's a weekly show.
Yep.
All right.
About an hour a week.
Subscribe, hit that up, and check that out. So we're talking about Cuba and the vote that, according to Al Jazeera, was turnout was 84.4%. And about 86 or about 87% of the voters voted in favor of the new constitution, which, according to the story, enshrines private property. It legalizes private property and promotes foreign investment, which they say brings it in line with the economic reforms the Cuban government has implemented to encourage entrepreneurship and investment over the past several years, which is a good thing.
So the next despotic government can take over all that investment in private property that they doled out.
Well, I mean, certainly that could happen, but hopefully they won't kill the golden goose. Things have been pretty bad in Cuba from what we've read. Now, none of us have actually been there. Mark, you'll be going there later this year at some point. So you'll, I'm sure, be calling us from down there and giving us the scoop
as best I can
on what things are actually like down there. Because until you actually go, you have to rely on what other people say.
Of course.
You have to rely on the mainstream media or somebody that you might happen to have known who has gone there. We know Carlos Miller formerly from Photography is Not a Crime, one of the great websites that unfortunately has, I don't know if it's shut down, but Carlos got rid of it, and I'm not sure what its current status is. It was a great site at one time.
I thought it got usurped before he got rid of it. Like someone took
There was
it
some
over.
drama.
Yeah,
there was definitely some drama. He went to Cuba and kind of was posting updates on social media from down there and said the internet was god awful. even at like the fancy 4 or 5 star hotel or whatever it was, the nice hotel that he was at, the internet was just spotty at best. And when he did have access, it was slow. However, that's also something that's changing in Cuba. According to the Associated Press, there's a big change where people in Cuba are now getting access to the internet on cell phones. And for people that haven't had that, that's a huge step forward.
The internet's a dangerous thing for governments.
Right.
People get a taste of freedom and they like it. But generally, we are a species that likes freedom.
After a tornado had slammed Havana, as the AP, in late January, Miguel Ramirez complained on Twitter that authorities were threatening to evict him from his damaged home. A week later, he said the government changed its mind and would help him rebuild the house. Jorge Luis Leon used the official Twitter account of a Cuban vice president to request that hospital waiting rooms have seating for family members, while a group of young people launched Sube, a ride-hailing app for the aging American sedans that ply the streets of Havana. In the 2.5 months since Cuba allowed its citizens internet access via cell phones, fast-moving changes are subtle but palpable as Cubans challenge government officials online, post photos of filthy school bathrooms, and drag what was one of the world's least connected countries into the digital age.
Nice.
Yeah, it's going to be a while before they get that connected, though.
Communist authorities, in turn, are having to learn how to deal with more visible pressure coming from outside of party-controlled popular and neighborhood committees. Life has changed, said Alberto Cabrera, age 25. He's part of the team that developed the Sube app. He says you see it when you walk down the street. The other day, looking from the roof of my house, I could see that a neighbor had mobile internet service, as did the person in front and the person beyond him. You never saw that before, he said. In the first 40 days since December 6th, when people could start buying internet access packages for 3G service, 1.8 million Cubans on the island of 11 million purchased the services. A government report,
money
wherever they can. Yeah. A government report last week said about 6.4 million residents use the internet and social networks. Previously, nearly all Cubans could use mobile phones to link only to their state-run email accounts. Can you imagine state-run email accounts?
Sure, we have it in prisons here in the United States.
Yeah, right. Unless they connected to the internet at a limited number of government-sponsored Wi-Fi spots. So it's opened up quite a bit. Now, I suspect the government's still the organization running the internet access. That would be my guess.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it an open internet where they have access to like all the World Wide Web, or is it kind of like firewalled off?
That's an excellent
like
question. Claudia Cuevas, 26, university professor, member of the Sube team, says we're in a process of learning about how to use the data packages.
We can't let them on Facebook because they'll influence American elections.
Oh, no.
She says before, you went to the park with Wi-Fi zones once a week to communicate with your family. The history of the internet in Cuba has been rife with tensions and suspicion since it began in the 90s. Cuba's government accused Washington of blocking its access to the fiber optical cables near the island, forcing it to use an expensive and slow satellite service. It was only in 2011 that Cuba got access to the submarine cable with the help of Venezuela. And it wasn't until 2015 the general population gained access through the opening of Wi-Fi points in hundreds of parks. Critics of the communist government said it resisted giving Cubans free access to the internet because it feared a free inflow of information. And government supporters said it was fighting efforts by Washington to undermine their communist system and revolution.
Right,
revolution. Waking up in the future.
They really love that whole revolution thing.
It's still going.
You don't have a revolution anymore.
Yeah.
Sorry. They're the status quo. You're the man. You're the one that they want to have a revolution against now.
According to the story here, people questioned by the AP agreed that using the internet's become more practical since the recent arrival of cell phone access. They're moving from state telephone company ETECSA to WhatsApp, searching for information on the internet and reaching out to government officials through Facebook and Twitter. A DJ, Julio Luison, who has a YouTube channel, for a year called Techno Like Cuba, said he's noticed the impact. Quote, previously the country with the most subscribers to my channel was Spain, followed by the United States, and Cuba third. Now, he says, his highest numbers are Cubans. Guerra said, however, there are still many limitations from both outside and inside Cuba. For example, there are obstacles facing local developers who want to enter their products on the Google Play Store, and in Cuba, developers face a paralysis in the delivery of operating licenses so they can work within a legal framework.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so
there you
there's
go right there.
some level of government control going on here. The Cuban president, Miguel Diaz-Canel, opened a Twitter account in December or prior to December, and recently ordered all his ministers and leaders to do the same, but many of them only retweet official messages or propaganda slogans without providing their own content or answering anyone's questions. Diaz-Canel has repeated the importance of the internet and says Cuban authorities are working on websites and platforms to provide government services, such as requesting a birth certificate or being able to fill in government forms that now must be done by hand. Isn't that cute?
So you can use Twitter to petition your government for redress now?
Apparently. And an example of growing the use of the internet and social media was the reaction via Facebook and Twitter to a tornado that devastated half of Havana in late January. Residents used the platforms to assess the damage and organize solidarity. The combination of internet access and social networks, quote, is a channel that people can use to say things as they are directly. We need this, or this is happening. It cannot be blocked, and people must see it as a way to express themselves and say what they think. So I think that's wonderful. I really do. I think it's encouraging to see that not only does Cuba have private property enshrined in their constitution now, but in December they got access for anyone who's willing to pay for it now through their cell phone provider to personal internet access. We don't know about restrictions on what they can access, but we know that it's a heck of a lot more than they ever had access to.
It's definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I support it. I feel for Cubans that are alive today, living in America, whose property is owned by the Cuban government, controlled by the Cuban government, and they're angry.
Never going to get it back. Sorry,
they're just not.
But there must be a way to return it to the original owner.
Well, the original owner is probably not the Cuban who is complaining about it. It's probably some drop of Indian blood somewhere in some person. That's the difficulty with property. It's been around a long time, and lots of people have killed each other over it.
And the funny thing is, I think we were talking about the rankings of economic and personal freedom, and I don't think Cuba was on that list. It was one of those countries that wasn't on the list.
It's probably too complicated.
Yeah. So, but it's still good news. Glad to see it happening. And we'll know more, I guess, Mark, when you get down there later on this year. More coming up tomorrow night. You can join us online in the meantime over at freetalklive.com.
All right, it's another edition of the Edgington Post Show coming to you from the North American Bitcoin Conference. And I've got with me right here, it's been a great event, by the way, Eric Swords?
That's correct.
Excellent.
Swords.
And you're from Croptos, the TV show?
Croptos, a TV show.
Now, is this a TV show you're thinking about doing, or this is a TV show you've made?
This is a TV show that's in development.
Okay, tell me about it.
We are producing 10 episodes, season 1 of Croptos, the TV show.
Didn't seasons used to be like 30 episodes or something back in the day? I mean, what's happened?
No. Seasons in general, it depends on what network you go through, are anywhere from 8 to 12 episodes.
Okay. I know that's how it is today. I was just wondering, like when I was a kid, it seemed like there were more produced.
Yeah.
More MASHs produced.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And that's probably because there's 8 seasons of MASH.
Yeah.
But we're settling on 10.
Okay, good.
And it's a story. Again, it's a scripted show.
Okay.
It's in the vein of Silicon Valley.
Drama? Comedy?
Dramedy.
Okay. Dramedy.
Yeah, as we say in the theater world.
Right.
It's a dramedy.
All of that.
It's all of that. In the vein of Silicon Valley, Entourage, Wolf of Wall Street.
Okay.
It's the story of a group of filmmakers who are frustrated with the network system. They go to a cryptocurrency conference, and they realize that blockchain is going to forever change the fate of the entertainment industry.
This totally could have happened last year at the North American Bitcoin Conference, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the place was wall to wall. It's certainly well attended. This is probably the most well attended crypto conference I have seen this year, and maybe the most well attended this year. Period.
Yeah.
However, last year was, I'm thinking, 12 months ago, it was a big event. I mean, it was, when I was trying to walk through here, I couldn't get through.
Sure.
It was wall-to-wall people.
High energy. And that's, in our pilot episode, our cast, they go to a conference just like this one.
Yeah.
And they watch a few speakers. One guy talks about Weedcoin. Another guy talks about a mining system.
Right.
All different types of blockchain companies. And
ICOs were blowing up at the time.
And they're inspired.
Yeah.
These guys are inspired. And when they walk out of the conference, they're looking at each other like, guys, we should do this. Why don't we start our own blockchain entertainment business?
Mm-hmm.
And they go to work on creating that. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to take blockchain and cryptocurrency mainstream. Entourage, Silicon Valley, Sopranos, Game of Thrones, on average, hit shows like this see about 10 million new viewers per night.
Wow.
Okay? The entire blockchain space is about 35 million users right now. 35 million active digital wallets. So we're still in our infancy, and we need a way to penetrate mainstream conscious, and we think that a scripted TV show is that way. It's that vehicle.
There have been Bitcoin mentions in mainstream television. I
Correct.
think CSI, maybe one of those, like
Law
and Order, maybe Law and Order.
Oh, no.
Probably both of those.
Sure.
Like somebody gets murdered and it has something to do with Bitcoin.
Right, and they're or they want to be paid in Bitcoin, the terrorists, or they want to,
Deadpool had Bitcoin behind the counter,
and
right?
I just watched the new Ant-Man, and the guy goes, we know that the future's in AI and cryptocurrency, so, which is cool. And I'm like, so we're seeing these, Hollywood writers.
I remember that line, but I should have.
It's the funniest thing. We've been taking this to a lot of actors in Hollywood, and they love it. Yeah. They love it. We've already got a great director lined up. Artists in general are very privy to cryptocurrency. Nothing, though, has been made that's on the subject itself.
Yeah, you guys have much deeper, it's much more deep into the story.
The entire backdrop is blockchain and cryptocurrency, and it's global. We have an episode in China called Chinatown, where the crew goes to China. They get some investment money from a wealthy Chinese guy in Beijing. Mm-hmm. They run into a bunch of Russians.
You gotta have a kidnapping.
This thing is, it takes place in the entertainment industry as well. So it's all of those fantastic stories that you hear about.
The God's honest truth with cryptocurrency. One of the first things I said about Bitcoin, and we talked about Bitcoin first in 2010 on Free Talk Live.
Wow.
We may be the first, I think we are, the first media in the world to discuss Bitcoin.
Oh, that's because you're the intergalactic space king.
That's right. Absolutely. No, it was just a caller called in, a guy from Australia. It's like, hey, you guys got to know about this. And we talked about it. Then Gavin Andreessen, the head developer at the time of Bitcoin, gets a hold of us within 30 days, and we have a lunch, and he explains it to us a little more thoroughly. We were pretty skeptical, as you can imagine.
Sure.
And then we talk about it on the air. Roger Ver, who is Bitcoin Jesus.
Yeah, we love Roger Ver.
Yeah, Roger, he hears about it on the air. He's one of our advertisers. He begins paying for his ads in crypto. So, I've liquidated more crypto than the people in this room will ever see, because he was paying $3,500 for his ads at $1 a Bitcoin.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a great story, but what are you going to do? You got to run a business.
Exactly. Right now, again, everybody, not just in the American market, but the international community is hearing Bitcoin.
It may be bigger in the international.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it is. For me, I was a freshman at Syracuse studying acting. In 2009, I read an article on Bitcoin. I thought it was cool. I didn't know anything. I put it down.
Yeah.
In 2015, I'd made a few movies in China. I did my first Euro trip. I was in Amsterdam, and they were using Bitcoin to buy coffee in cafes. And I was like, I can't believe this thing is still around. What is this? That's when I started going down the rabbit hole and realizing this thing isn't going away. And this is the future of payment systems. This is the future, not just Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, blockchain, value systems. These are our future global value systems, because with this technology, and this is something, we're not shoving this in the show, we're not going to shove this down people's throats. It's a soft sell. We're just trying to open people up to, okay, that's what Bitcoin is. Blockchain, it's a distributed ledger system, basic concepts. Our show is Crypto for Dummies.
Right.
Really,
it should be.
It's about the story. It's about the relationships, the characters, the love, the drama, the jealousy of building a business.
All the human stories are.
And everybody can relate with the story.
Sure.
So if we could get them to sit down and fall in love with some characters and unconsciously learn about cryptocurrency and build trust in the marketplace, then we've done our job.
Yeah, I can't remember what the one that Robert Downey Jr. was in when I was a kid, but I think 24 hours or something. I don't remember what it was called. Anyway, he has this huge, terrible drug problem and everything. That could totally be a crypto story at the same time. How many people in this space have made so much money that they went nuts with, fast women and fast cars and drugs and all that stuff? I mean, I don't know many of them that woke up dead, but
that's something we play with in the show. I mean, in the end of our pilot, they go to a crypto palace and they're exposed to an enormous amount of new money immediately, and these are starving artists, so they're like, oh my gosh, there's this industry is out of control.
It is out of control.
So we do show that, and because it's entertaining.
Yeah.
But again, it's it's about our characters, and it's about their discovery process.
So let me ask you this: it sounds very compelling, and I'm interested and want to be involved in any way I can. What are you guys doing here? I mean, just promoting that you're making a TV show.
That's right. So we've been in development for almost a year now.
Okay.
And this is the first conference that we felt confident to come out, and we plan to come to a lot more of these as we produce the show.
You coming to Anarchapulco next month?
No, we're not.
Haven't heard about it? Okay.
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
I'm emceeing the Cryptopulco stage at
awesome.
Anarchapulco.
Awesome. This is our first conference.
Yep.
Our goal here is to connect with a lot of the whales in the space, which we have, and to connect with a lot of the businesses, because in the show, it's not going to be an advertisement, but we do look to put blue chip names in the show.
Okay.
For instance, the most common question I get on the street from people who don't understand Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, how do I get in? Where do I get my Bitcoin? Right?
Sure.
Nobody knows where to get it. For me, the easiest way is Coinbase.
Yep.
Coinbase.com. It's secure.
Bitcoin.com will make it easy for you, too.
Bitcoin.com is a great one. Yeah, Bitcoin.com. I mean,
those are easy places, but people don't necessarily know
that. They don't know.
Right.
Go to Bitcoin.com. You can get it. It can give
easy.
you a digital wallet, and there you get your first bit just like that.
Yep.
So very simple phrases and interactions in the show is something we want them to use, but we want to use real companies who support it, because we want them to be able to watch the show and learn.
It's a drama from real life.
That's it.
It makes it more feel real lifey.
Learn. Don't keep your money on an exchange.
Right. That's important.
Get a Nano Ledger S, or get one of theirs. Someone's got a new wallet in here that is like a card. It's amazing.
Yep.
But
just have an exchange get hacked and blow up, and then the person lose all their crypto, and it creates a whole new line for the story. Yeah,
exactly. There's so much fear in the outside community, and our goal is to change that fear into
How
excitement.
Can people find out more?
They can go to Cryptos the Show.
CryptosTheShow.com. CryptosTheShow.com. I really appreciate you spending a little time with me, Eric Swords, and I hope the best for you. I want to stay in contact.
Thank you, Galactic King. I want to stay in contact, too.
Thank you.
And you gave me a good idea with the Bitcoin.com.
CryptosTheShow.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.